I have your Bexel test handed back. Dr. Lyon does all the grading, so these are graded by Dr. Lyon. I think the general consensus here that she expressed to me is that everyone got full credit, check plus, for doing this assignment. Unless you were totally off base, like you just didn't do the assignment, and then she's allowing you to do a redo, okay? So if you have specific questions about these, see me after class, and I can talk to Dr. Lyon about it. All right. Matthew's not here yet. Okay. Okay, Jordan. Jordan's staring me down. I'm sorry, it's so creepy, but I have to figure it out. Okay. Sorry. All right, Miss Bellica.
Right here. Sorry.
No. Okay, not knowing your name.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Spencer. Spencer. I know. It's gonna be so hard. I don't want you to have to sit where you want. Hannah.
That's a left hand.
Okay. All right. So it's all good. Sit where you want. Okay, Teresa. Teresa? Basamet? Did I say your name right? That's bothering me. Not your name, but my failure. Okay. All right. Zaria. Amber. Alright, this is very unusual. Shelby. Carly.
I just came in out. I went to Dublin and then to Barcelona.
Okay. Angelina? And you've been sitting here pretty much in this area at least. All right. Tina.
That's crazy.
Okay, all right, Brianna. Oh wait, that's free. Free. Okay, what was that?
My friend Debbie,
Okay.
and here, and she.
Okay, Lindsay? Aaron Happy right there. Mark.
I went to Syria.
Okay.
Yeah, she
All right. Lily.
I had a completely different, I had a really good
It says 66 on the thing, and I was like,
All right, Alex.
transferred here. Been here for a year.
How many
Here,
years?
went to 3 years.
Brittany?
I went to grad school after that, and
download it, and I always want to do it for school anymore. I think you want here. Okay, so if you want that. I don't want you to lose the credit, but take that. Okay. So I should be able to do attendance sort of now. Okay. Spencer.
Yes.
Shameful. Sorry. Okay. Tina. Sammy? No Sammy. Did I not stop by anyone's to give them back? Like, did I not stop by any of your desks? Okay. Shelby, Alex, Laurel. Okay, I'm gonna call this right here. Hold on a second. Angelina? Angelica. Angelina? Angelica. That's okay. It's all good. Day. Hannah. Jordan. I have papers for you. Okay, it's just me today. So what my goals are for the day are to get us all kind of on board for the scheduling of these and to tell you about this assignment, what it is going to entail. We're not going to be able to set the schedule today because we have to go through all of your top choices and try to make everyone a little bit happy and give everyone at least one of their top choices.
Oh, thank you.
And then we are going to turn our attention to the essay on representation. So my goal with that today is to get you to understand the concepts that you worked on for the worksheet. How many of you felt like the worksheet was a little hard? It was kind of hard to do it. Okay, why? I'm just curious for you to articulate it, and then when we start, I'll tell you why I think it was difficult. Yeah.
I feel like some of the definitions were so broad, like representation, like the whole thing was talking about that, so it's hard to just like on the worksheet just write one thing.
Exactly. All right. Any other thoughts? Yes.
I felt like for certain things, like symbolize, signify, I was writing the same stuff.
Yeah, it was sometimes hard to tell between terms. So that's why I really want to work on these with you today, because Stuart Hall gives multiple definitions. The whole chapter is on kind of thinking about representation. So coming up with a little definition as we're used to doing is really hard. I'm not exactly sure what's going to be on the exam, but I want you to have at least a comfortable understanding of these terms. And so because you'll probably be asked to apply them in some context, that's my guess. And it takes a little bit of work, but if we can get through this and kind of get a grasp of what each of these concepts are that you encountered on the worksheet, I hope that you'll feel better as we go into looking at film, because then you'll have a language when you are asked to kind of argue and critique and things like that. You'll have words and like vocabulary that you might not be used to using to use in those contexts. Okay, so if you have your top choices, take them out. Projector back on. I'm going to pull up the assignment sheet here.
Are we turning in our top three choices?
You are, but I'm just going to go over the assignment sheet, kind of talk to you about it, because we have, one of the things about this assignment is that we have to also schedule the presentation days. So in addition to you figuring out what chapter you want to do and then us pairing you based on your interests, then we also are going to have which day are you going to go? Are you going to go to the first one because you want to get it done right away? And is your partner going to be okay with that? Or are you going to wait till the end and be on the last presentation day that we have? Why did this shut down? Why will it not start off? Okay, so after class today, I will put the assignment sheet up that I'm going over now. I just have this policy of I like to talk to you about it before I put it up there, because I know we're going to have early bird students who are assignment, or I got nervous, when is this due, what's going on, or just start to study it before I put it up there and become alarmed or something like that. So I like to talk to you about it, and then, why? Okay. Oh, no. Stop. You know what I just did? I had turned it on and it wasn't turning on, so I turned it off, and at the second that I turned it off, it appeared on the screen, so now it's turning off. Sorry. Okay. All right, well, while we're waiting for the assignment sheet to come up, how many of you've got your 3 choices? Was it hard for you? Did you feel like the titles gave you a good idea of what it was about? Okay, let's hear some people's top choices, and someone just throw it out there, and then we'll see if someone else already has that, because then that might be a partnership right there. Yeah.
Chapter 48, like the fan culture one.
Fan culture, chapter 48. Did anyone else put that on their list somewhere? Okay, all right, but that's why we have 3 choices, because our goals are twofold. To give you a topic you're interested in, and then to make sure that you have someone that's willing. There might be one of you that is like, you're the only one on that, all 3 of yours, no one else chose, and then we'll figure out what to do about that. But hopefully there'll be this overlap.
I chose chapter 50, which I can look at.
Okay, chapter 50.
It's real boys carry girls' ethics normalizing gender bending in online games.
All right, yes, absolutely. That's the last one we have there, and that's on a whole section. I don't know if any of you looked at the headers from the book, but the first is called Foundations. This is we have a couple of chapters that we're going over with you for that, because it's to give you an idea of the field of study. And then there is Production, which is employment, creativity, marketing, and technology, and they're all kind of under that heading. The third section is texts, bodies, identities, and representation. So if this kind of piqued your interest and you liked the Stewart Hall reading and you're interested in that field, these articles might have fit. And the fourth is text, genre, mode, and other narrative strategies. But they're all very specific within there. But keep that header in mind as you're thinking about the article when you are assigned it, because it's framing what they're kind of wanting you to think about. And then the last one is consumption, spectators, fans, users, and gamers. So that might have appealed to people, anyone who has any experience with gaming. Okay, now it's warming up. Okay, let's hear a couple of other. Yeah. 21. What was 21? Let me see here. Okay. Oh, Missy Misdemeanor Elliott, rapping on the frontiers of female identity. Anyone else put that on your list? Okay, so we're gonna have this. This is where it's gonna be difficult, right? Was that your number 1?
Yes.
All right. How many people had that as their number 1? How are we gonna do this? That's gonna feel so. Actually, Dr. Lyon's probably gonna do it. So I'm not gonna bear the ethical burden of like, how do I choose? It's gonna have to be like out of a hat. If all of you have it as your first choice, then it's gonna have to be random, and then after that, we'll go to the other choices. Yeah.
It's a partner presentation, right? So you and one
So
other
2 of you will get that article, but which 2 of you will get it? Like, that should totally be random. It should not be like, ooh, I'm gonna pair these people together. No. Okay, let's look at the assignment itself and what you're going to be doing. So our gender, I'm going to kind of read through this. Our course text covers a lot of ground and provides a multitude of critical voices on the subject of gender and popular media. Are you able to read that?
Use it a little bit.
I can. That better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I've already talked to you about the 5 major thematic divisions. There are 50 essays in the text. This is going to allow you to zero in on your interests in order to explicate an essay and demonstrate to your peers and to your professors your expertise on the essay and kind of your understanding of its themes. The participation presentation will allow you to familiarize your classmates with key concepts and arguments of an essay while also engaging them in discussion on its broader implications, emphasizing the ways in which these essays speak to the course's conceptual patterns and patterns of critical thinking. Okay, so essentially on the day that we have presentations, we will put up like a master list where everyone's presentation is listed so you know what's coming. We are not checking to make sure everyone in the class has read all 4 of those essays. You will know that it's being covered that week because we'll put out that list, but it is not going to be tested. The people that are presenting that day, that is their day to be on and to have to prepare and all of that. If you want to glance through it, if you want to read through some of the articles that day, it'll be great and it will help you. But essentially, the ones who are presenting, it's your day to be the teacher and to key students in on what they need to know about this essay, okay? So that even having not read it, the whole class is able to kind of come away with something and feel like they've gotten a sense of what it is about. As part of your participation grade, you and your partner will give a 15-minute presentation, okay? So if we have 4 of you, that's gonna pretty much take up class, and then we might have a few questions at the end, or a little discussion about how the articles and the conversations we've had throughout class will relate. Okay, we've got 4 presentation days total. They're gonna be spotted, like sequestered throughout the semester, spaced quarterly to keep you on track. And your task is to create an interesting presentation on the essay, one that demonstrates that you've engaged with the material and can provide your classmates with a meaningful synopsis of the article as well as key points from the article. So I came up with some recommended steps for preparing. You don't have to do all of these. You don't have to do them in the order that they are listed, but if you're just like, how do I get started? What do we do to begin? This is a good thing to follow. First of all, you have to read the article, and you should definitely annotate the article because you are teaching the material. You need to be an expert on that material as much as possible. So without reading it, it's going to be very clear. Plus your partner might have to bear the burden. I don't know if any of you have ever been in a situation where you're working with a partner or a group and you have done most of the work and you're like, this is not fair, right? You don't want to be that way. You don't want to be in that position, and you don't want to be the person who puts someone else in that position. So just ground level, when you begin, you both should have read the article before you kind of even come together to talk about it. This is the obviously most important part in preparing because you have to be able to speak about it in your own words with another person. So I suggest you start early. If you're having trouble understanding it, that's a good time to come see me in my office. Talk to me about the article itself, or to meet together if you're like, I read it, but it's over my head. Let's just talk about it. Then go and sit down with the article. And whatever you thought was difficult, underline those parts and then read it aloud to each other. That's a really good strategy. And talk about what it's about. And you can also come to my office hours together if you want to do it with me, because I can help you through some of that. Meet with your partner to discuss the essay, ask each other questions, engage in contextual research collaboratively, and devise a plan or outline. So this is really important. You hate public speaking, you're not comfortable. The idea of teaching is I don't want to be a teacher, I'm never going to be one. This is just a really good way is if you're having nerves, get the plan down. Get the outline so that you see how I've covered here with all these papers I bring in and everything. Some of it is, these are things that you have, so some of it is stuff that you have. Some of it is lecture notes that I make for myself. Usually when I'm lecturing, I don't look at the notes, but I make them, and they're in my mind so that I know having them makes me feel better at it, just in case I was blah, and then I'd have something to say. So you can also bring a plan, you can bring lecture notes to make yourself feel comfortable, cards, whatever you want to do, so that when you're up here, you don't feel overwhelmed. You feel okay, I've got something to work with, and being with a partner hopefully will help you, so you feel we're doing something fun, and plan something fun to make it fun for yourselves. So that's the best way. That's how I think about teaching. It's I want to have fun while I'm up here, and hopefully that translates to you finding it more interesting or whatever. Okay, prepare any materials you will need that will strengthen your presentation and aid your classmates in their engagement. Remember, you want them to understand your article, and they probably haven't read it. So you've got to think about how you convey this article to people who haven't read it. And that should be your goal, is getting everyone in here to be oh, that's really interesting. Oh, I'm curious about this. I have questions about this. What is this about? To have them be engaged and to understand what it's about. You all are expected to bring your books on student presentation day. Okay, so when you see it in the syllabus, if we are assigned it, so next week, actually this is a good time to bring it up, your homework for next Tuesday is to read pages 1 through 40 in here, right? So read it. It's not difficult like Stuart Hall, okay? That's why that was only 15 pages. Read it, highlight some parts to it, have you don't need to do the in-depth, but just make sure it gets done. That's your homework, right? So you're going to need this next week because we have reading assignments from it. Same as you will need the book when we have your student presentations. Because one of the elements of this presentation is that I want you to refer to the text. so that when you're teaching up here and everyone else has their books, have them open to it. Have them highlight something with you. Here are like 5 key terms from this article that we want you to take away. It's on pages blah, blah, blah. Let's go and highlight it right now. So like bring highlighters that day, bring a pen that day on student presentation day, and be prepared. And they might have a PowerPoint to help you do that, or they might just say, let's open our books and let's go look at it right now. Or I want you to look at this passage in this essay, because this is like what the whole essay is about. It can kind of come down to this one quote. Let's highlight it. Then this book becomes super useful to you because you've had 4 days to go through all of these essays and to highlight what are the most important parts of the essays and the thoughts that you should be taking with you. So the basic criteria, you need to have these things in your presentation. So this is, when we say criteria, this is what you're being graded on. You need to have a synopsis. So I don't know if you want to start with it. I don't know how you want to present it. You want to make handouts and hand them out to people. You want to put some pointers up. You've got to have a synopsis of the article. Remember that synopsis is not paraphrasing. Paraphrasing, parallel, right? It would be like the same, more like the same length of the article. Synopsis is condensed, right? How can I tell you what this article is in a really much shorter and more simplistic way? You need to have a little contextual information to assist your audience in understanding the relevance of the essay. So this, you don't just take and look at this in an isolated way, right? We want to be paying attention to context. Find out who the author is, right? Take their name, Google it. If they're a professor at a university, go to your university page, find out what they do their research on. If it was published in a book that they wrote, if it was published in another book first, find out a little information about the essay, where it came from, because this is a compilation of essays that may have been written just for this book, like the author, the editor contacted them and said, I'm looking for essays on this subject, or they submitted to it. Or it may be published somewhere else, and the author said, I read this here, would you consider having it in my anthology on this subject? So like Laura Mulvey's piece, that's been published other places. It was published a long time ago. We're reading it for next Thursday. So it's one of those instances where you'll want to find out about her and about, kind of the genre in which she's writing, who her intended audience is, all of those kinds of things. You want to have key points. You want them to be able to take away key points. They're going to have their books, so bring them to the page. Let them kind of mark up the page, whatever it is. You need to have definitions and explanations of terminology that will assist them. So some of these essays won't be heavy in terminology, so in that case you just do a couple of things that you want to bring their attention to. Like the author talked a lot about stereotypes, like that. So let's return, we're going to talk today about stereotypes, but let's return to reminding them about stereotypes. It might be something we've already gone over in class, but the author talks about it differently. So it's okay to reintroduce some of those terms, whatever you can kind of find that you think is relevant. Clarification on how this fits into the overriding theme of our course, gender and pop culture, and discussions that we've been having. So think about the Bechdel test. Think about the films that we've already started talking about. And when you're reading your article, see how it fits. Like maybe it connects in some way to conversations, and these all should connect in some way to conversations that we're having. So make that connection clear. And then at least 5 minutes of discussion. So if this is a 15-minute presentation, then 5 minutes of that is a discussion that you're leading. So you can do it the way that Dr. Lyon likes to do it, which is kind of known as think, pair, share, where you will write something, you'll have students write something, and then, okay, share it with your partner. Okay, then let's all talk. It's like a classic teaching technique, okay? Or you might want to come up with a different group activity, right? You use that discussion time as you want. I tend to like to lecture, and then I'll ask you questions, and I'll hear from a few people that want to talk. And usually when we're talking about something you're really interested in, people want to talk and it gets rowdy, and usually when it's not, I do more lecturing. So different people have different styles. You can use that model, you can use this model. Just make sure that you signal to us that you're doing some kind of discussion. You've got to get everyone out here talking in some way. And the other way, that's easier for you, that 5 minutes, right? If other people, it's hard and it's easy, right? Getting people to talk is not always easy, but if you can have questions made up, and we have a nice continual class that wants to help you because they want to be helped when they're in their discussion phase and all of that, then it should go well. So I don't know how you'll see it, but this is 5 minutes of the 10 minutes. So you've got to think about how you're going to dole out the time so that you can get all that information in there. You might want to make a worksheet and hand it out. You may not want to do that. It's up to you. But you should also have visuals. Okay, so this is like the creative component of how you're letting this be known and how you're teaching the material. So this can be any of these things, okay? It could be activity sheets, activities in class, like we're gonna get everyone up and do something. Information sheets, short video clips. Now this has gotta be really short for 15 minutes. If you're doing the whole class period, like I have a whole class period to talk to you, then you can see like, okay, bring in a 5-minute, 9-minute clip because we're here for 100, whatever, an hour and 20 minutes. But when you're only on for 15 minutes and you're being graded on it, then you've got to not do that kind of thing. But if it's just real quick at the beginning and you want to get everyone's like, here's a tiny clip from Superman or whatever it is you want to show, that's fine, you can do that. Anything that's pedagogically assistive, just note that this final category is subjective and up to you, but we're expecting that you have made some effort to bring in that component of it. So grading, this is graded out of 100 points, but it's going to make up 40% of your overall participation grade. So this is, think about that participation grade. That's why those little assignments, you don't sweat those low stakes writing assignments as much because they're that other 60%, but this is a big chunk of that grade. So you really want to focus on this and make it worthwhile. You're graded on the following kind of criteria, which refers back to the basic things that I had just stated. Criteria fulfillment, that's 20. Comprehension, so basically you show us that you understand the article. You demonstrate to us that you do. And then it's kind of graded here and broken down on how well you'll do that. Preparedness, have you done something? Like, do you have a visual? Do you have a worksheet? Have you prepared for the day, or are you just like, okay, I'm relying on the fact like that. Okay, just look at this 2 minutes before class, like, all right, I'm gonna rely on my partner over there. We're gonna be able to tell, if you come up here and you're not a person who likes to do public speaking, which that's just the case, there's a lot of people that don't like to do it, and your partner loves it, great, work it out, but what we don't want is one person to do all of the work and one person to not. So you've got to figure out a balance. If you can't contribute in the discussion the way that you might want to, then you've got to do behind the scenes. You've got to do more preparatory work and make sure your partner is okay with that. Because I've had, as an undergraduate, bad situations where I resented someone, like we were working together and I was just like, he doesn't even care. I'm not going to get a bad grade for this. I'm doing everything. And I did everything. And then I was like, wrote the professor after. And I was like, he did nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Like told on him. And I was like good friends with him. But I was like mad at him. Maybe it would have been better if I was like a little different. I could have said, hey, friend. like, hey, I am feeling angry. You are not doing your part in this. Like, you're not doing your part. Because then maybe you would have risen to the challenge. And at least I would have talked to him about it instead of being like, Professor, and then telling, Okay, so just little social things to think about. Comprehensiveness and interactivity and accessibility. Okay, so you want this to be able, like you don't want to be too lofty. The ideas are difficult. Like say we're talking about Stuart Hall today. We're going to have to really be able to apply this to our lives and to think about it in the terms that we understand, even though his language itself might push us beyond what is really we're going to be able to grasp in this classroom. Okay, and then I just came up with my general guidance on successful presentations, and you can read those in your own time if you like. So I will put this up on UB Learns today, later, at some point, or tonight. And does anyone have any questions? Yes?
So just to clarify, you have like 15 minutes to your presentation, and at least 5 of that 15 minutes has to be discussion, and so you have like plus or minus like 10 to do like
Everything else.
lecture-y style presentation.
Exactly. Yes, and the thing about the discussion is you need to fill that 5. So don't like plan one question and then just hope like it all takes off. Like if I just said to you, okay, all right, well, what did he mean by representation? And then like I'm hoping 5 minutes, like please let them talk for 5 minutes. No. Well, you've got to have other stuff to talk about, like a plan of listed questions. And if the discussion falls flat, just keep talking, right? We know we'll be able to tell that you're trying to make discussion happen. and that it's just maybe not working, but at least you're filling that time and you're keeping the conversation important and vibrant. You might be leading that conversation, right? It's how it works when you're doing any kind of teaching. Other questions? No other questions about this? Okay, then I need to collect your top 3 choices. Make sure your name is on there so that we can try to get everyone a topic and then sign up for a period. Make sure I'm okay.